All right, guys, welcome back to Car DFS, the process. I guess, I know originally I said I was going to drop this video around 12 a.m., but I got time to do it now. I did all my research. I figured out who I was going to play. My lineup or my picks are going to come from these guys right here. I think there's like 17 guys that I'm looking at. There's a bunch of chalk in here. However, I don't see chalk being a big issue this weekend, this tournament. Now, there are some guys that I did not put in here simply because they didn't fit my mold, my model, the stats that I was looking for. Luke List, Lee Westwood, who else? There's a few guys. Actually, Stanley is in here. I'm just gonna say it. Stanley, he's a boomer bust, and lately he's been busting, and that's not a good thing. I mean, because I'm a numbers guy. On paper, he makes all the sense in the world. On paper, but I don't know what's going on at home with him. He's not performing how he should, and I think I'm gonna fade him. I might hedge in like one of my 25-cent lineups on Draftkings just to see how he do. But overall, I think I'm gonna fade him. Like, he hasn't been performing for me, and it's sad. And it's like, it's always when you fade the person you know in your heart was supposed to be the guy to just take off. As soon as you fade him, that next game or next tournament or whatever it is they play in, or sport they play, they take off and they boom, and you're not there to or you're there to witness it, but you're not there to appreciate that victory. And it just sucks, man. It's like, he hasn't been performing. I'm not gonna put him in my my lineups for the Millie Maker. But he, on paper, man, he is the number one guy to get opposite of Matsuyama. And just to kick off my picks, Matsuyama, I don't need to speak on him. You know what he did last weekend. He's probably going to do something similar this weekend. He's going to be the chalk. He's going to be the one that everybody's going to be on. But I think he's a reasonable chalk. I think he is okay to get and own, simply because he's a direct pivot off of someone like Rory McIlroy and DJ. He can strike the ball just like those guys, but for a cheaper price. Also, Fowler's not on my list, as you can see. And the reason why, I'm not saying that those guys won't do good. In my last video when I gave picks and I said I don't really think I'm going to play Rory, and I told you guys, hey, I don't think I'm going to play Rory. I'm not saying he's not going to do good. I think he's going to do great, but I can pay less and get either similar or better performance, and that performance came from Matsuyama. And yeah, so I'm not. And here's the thing, I've been talking to a few of my buddies that actually follow golf. I don't follow golf. I look at the numbers, I do the research, and then I'll pick their brains here and there, and it's like, they'll tell me stuff like, oh, Rory, he won at Quail Hollow quite a few times. He crushed that course. And that's true. But the question that I have to ask is, was that before they did the renovations or reconstruction of the holes and combining them, or was that after? And I mean, granted, he has a great, he can strike the ball and hit it far. I mean, just as well as Dustin Johnson, but it's a difference. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just say, okay, 2 years ago he did great at that course, and he dominated the competition, but at the same time, did he do that pre-reconstruction or renovation, or was that done right after? I just don't think he's gonna be the guy this weekend. Now, I'm hoping a lot of people pick him. Don't get me wrong. I'm hoping a lot of people pick him. But I'm not. I am not going to have him nowhere in my lineup. Actually, I'm lying. I'm sorry. I'm lying. My quarter arcade lineups, I am hedging with certain players. Those players are not on this list simply because I'm using this list to pick, my head-to-heads, my GPP Millie Maker tournaments, GPP tournaments. And that's why they're not on this list. These guys right here that I have should all do pretty good. There's a few questionable guys, and I'll go over them. Just going down the list. It's going to be hard to really find good ownership. Peter Uline, I think he's going to be fairly owned, but I don't think he's going to be over 10% owned. I think he's going to be a decent player to pick if you're trying to watch ownership, and that's why I have him on my list. He meets all my stats. Well, not all of them, but for the good majority of them, he does. He's a bomber. He hits the ball pretty hard, pretty far. Can't remember right off my head. I want to say he's okay with par 4 scoring, but not okay with par 4 birdie making. But I could be wrong. Either way, he made the list because I actually did the research on him, or on all of these players. Finau's going to be chalk. He's going to be a direct pivot off of Matsuyama. Honestly, he's going to be a direct pivot off of Matsuyama. I think he's going to do well, but at the end of the day, he's going to be chalk. A lot of people are going to have him. A lot of people are going to own him. I think his ownership might go up to 20%. Matsuyama, I think he might just fly past 30, maybe 40. One of the guys that stuck out to me, and I kind of treat him somewhat similar to a Kyle Stanley. In fact, it's funny that they're right next to each other, because on paper, they are a must grab, a must have in your lineup. But one, Stanley, he's been busting. He hasn't been performing well lately. Justin Thomas, he has some room to wiggle and improve. He hasn't been doing bad like Stanley, like, missing cuts and shit like that. But Justin Thomas is honestly, he's a GPP move. He can be the difference maker in your lineup. I don't predict him being that much on. I think 15% maybe, because most people who know about know what to look for this upcoming tournament. They know that he is somebody you need to pay attention to. But play him at your own will, at your own risk, because I put him in that same category as Kyle Stanley. And it is what it is. I'm not going to spend too much time on those guys. Stanley, here's the thing about him. He may be a good GPP play, and especially if he goes out and perform. He may be probably under 15% owned, sub 15. He might even be 10% owned because of his recent outings. So he might be a good GPP play. Like I said, on paper, looking at him, he's somebody you need to get. I'm hedging with him. I have him in a few of my arcade lineups for Draftkings. Wait, no, I think I might have him also on Fanduel. And here's the thing about Fanduel. When it comes to golf, when it comes to sports in general, certain sports I play on certain platforms. Golf, I play on Draftkings. Golf, I do not play on Fanduel, simply because I just think it's, I don't know. It don't click with me. It just doesn't click with me. Same thing with basketball. Basketball, NBA, WNBA, I play on Fanduel. I don't play it on Draftkings. NFL, I play on both. MLB, I'm not that great at. On Draftkings, I don't want to say I suck, but I'm below average on Draftkings. I can do head-to-heads easy, but if I were to do a number of 1 to 10 on how many head-to-heads I would win on DraftKings with MLB, I would say probably like 6.5 or a 7. It's not great. It's just a little bit above average, but it's not great. It's not. But on Fanduel, I'm great on MLB, and I think it's because on DraftKings they give me the option to get two pitchers, and Fanduel they just let me get one pitcher. And I don't know, maybe that's what it is, or it might be the scoring where if a pitcher gets a hit, that's a negative versus on Fanduel where hits don't really matter. So. But yeah, that's just anyways, like I said, I have some lineups on FanDuel. I think $5 worth. I'm in like a single entry $5 worth lineup for PGA over there. And I don't want to say I'm hedging a lot over there, but I am hedging some. So I have some strong, I have probably 5 or 6 strong players, and then the rest are players that I'm hedging with to see how they do and see if they do well. I mean, it's only $5 if I lose, or actually it's $1 per entry, but if I lose, oh well, it ain't gonna hurt me. All right, moving forward, Casey. I don't know what to say, man. He's gonna be chalky, and it's gonna be one of those situations where you gotta think about do you really want to fade Casey? I mean, Matsuyama, you can kind of fade him because he's gonna be super chalky, but I really don't know, man. Casey is gonna be chalky. Finau is gonna be chalky. The difference between Finau and Casey is probably gonna outperform Finau. So that's, he meets every category. To the T. He ranked high in my model. So it's kind of hard to really fade him. I can honestly, that's why I don't think, I think going chalk or, being a little chalky this weekend might be the way to go, because a lot of people are going to try to figure out what way they can go opposite of chalk and still win the GPP or whatnot. It's not really much you can do unless you go down low and get go down low. Unless you go down low and get people like Luke List. Like I said, I'm hedging with him in Quarter Arcade. People like Cantlay or something like that. You have to really go down low to really get away from high ownership so you can have a chance and find some equity. But at what risk? At the risk of you not making cut. And that's the thing you gotta get. It's not just about ownership. It's about putting all the right pieces to the puzzle and making sure they fit. And I don't think being chalky this weekend is gonna be a bad thing. Now, I do have 3 lineups in the Millie Maker, and I'll tell you how I do my lineups. I do a what if lineup, and a what if lineup can be I'm going super heavy with chalky players. What if I had all the best players on one team, or whatever, all the chalky players on one team. Or it can be opposite of that. It could be all the smaller, I don't know, price brackets, like the Euro Leagues, like the 6K bracket, all on one team. It could be that. That's the what if lineup for me. My second lineup is a constructed lineup, one that I construct where I think about what I'm doing. I think about strategy and try to put things together and make sure it makes sense to me and what it makes sense to on paper. And then my third lineup is a combination of the first two. And usually, my third lineup usually does pretty well. I think so anyways. I never won a big GPP, but I never, with that lineup, with my blended lineup, my hybrid lineup, I've always placed. I've always hit the green. Except for MLB on Draftkings. Hate fucking MLB on Draftkings. But, yeah, man, Casey, he's going to be hard to fade. Moving forward, Koepka. Brooks Koepka, he's going to be an interesting play. I can't knock him. I put him in. I can't say I put him in the same category as Justin Thomas. I do not. I think he's better. I think he's going to probably do better. But at the same time, Koepka may or may not be fairly owned. I think he may be at between 15 and 20% owned. But depending on how people minds work and how they're trying to, if a lot of people are trying to go with Dustin, Rory, and all those guys, they may skip over Koepka, and his ownership may not be that high. But if I had to give you the stats, par 4 scoring, par 4 birdie scoring, he has some distance. He meets my stats, so he meets pretty much everything. I think he's an interesting play. Another guy that's an interesting play, and I'm not gonna say he's a GPP play. I'm gonna say I think he's gonna make the cut, but I think he's gonna have some. I don't think you're gonna have much equity on him. I think he's gonna have some ownership where it's not gonna be like you get this guy and he's the best unknown secret, or he's the best kept secret in the world, and that's Schauffele, Xander Schauffele, and I think he's a good play. I definitely have him in one of my lineups, and I think he's gonna make the cut. He meets certain stats that I'm looking for, but what intrigues me the most about him is he has a little discipline. He doesn't blow up and get mad and just lose focus. So that's what intrigues me. He's proven at the British Open that he can play with like the people like Jordan Spieth and the big names and so on and so forth. Speaking of Spieth, you notice he's not on my lineup or my list. There's a reason why I didn't go with these big name guys, because in order to find some kind of equity, in order to make a somewhat decent lineup, I don't think you need to go with these big name guys. I think you need to fade them. Honestly, I don't want to say fade Rory, but if you're into getting Rory, get him. But I don't see a need to have the big names in this upcoming tournament. One guy that I never thought I would ever put in my pick list is Charlie Hoffman, and the reason why is because I just don't care for his game as much, and maybe that's me, paying too much attention to PGA, and I'm becoming more of a fan than anything. I mean, not really, because his numbers actually add up. It makes sense to me. But Hoffman, he's gonna be chalky. Like I said, like I got a lot of chalk in my picks. I have a lot of chalk, and I'm not saying that going with the chalk is gonna be the best move to go or to make, but at the same time, I don't see it being that bad, because what you're gonna do is risk, seeking equity and low ownership. You're gonna risk making the cut, and versus just going with the chalk and putting all the pieces together. That's just how I see it. But Hoffman is a great play. He meets every stat line to the T, even the cross references from the British Open, even the Canadian Open. He crushed it. And if you look at my last video, I said this upcoming tournament is going to be a combination of the British Open and the Canadian Open. It's not a hard course, it's just a long course. Just the British Open was a hard course, but it was more long than anything, where the Canadian Open was more easy, but it was short. So Hoffman, he definitely fits the mold. One of the guys that stands out, he pops really well in my models, is Jon Rahm. However, I think I'm just gonna hedge with him over in Fanduel, and I think I have him on a quarter lineup. I'm not sure. Jon Rahm is he is to me the pivot from Rory. And I mean, looking at pure numbers, not looking at, Matsuyama, none of those, or Ricky Fowler, or none of those guys, but looking at pure numbers, Jon Rahm to me is the direct pivot from Rory and Dustin Johnson this weekend. I think he's going to do great. I don't think he's going to lose his composure. I don't think he's going to lose blow up or anything like that. I think he's going to do okay. The next guy on my list is Matt Kuchar. Now, the reason why I have Matt Kuchar, he's just an all-around stable guy. I think his ownership is going to be somewhat decent, not too high, but also not too low. I think he's going to be somewhere around 10 and 15%. I could be wrong, but Kuchar is, and then, I like him simply because he's from Winter Park, Florida, and I'm from Orlando, Florida. So if you know anything about Orlando is literally a minute away from Winter Park. I mean, it's like right there. But anyways, yeah, Kuchar, he has an all-around standard game. He's been playing a lot of golf lately, and that's something you might want to look at because, I mean, I think he went to the British Open, Canadian Open, and the British. Did he go to the Bridgestone? I think he went to the Bridgestone. I didn't play him, but I think he did. Basically, my point is, he's been playing a lot of consistent golf, and he's old as fuck. So sooner or later, that old age is gonna catch up to him. I don't think he's gonna be too outstanding this weekend, but I think he's gonna be an interesting play when strategizing a lineup. When seeking ownership, I think he's gonna be an interesting play. The next guy on my list is Ross Fisher. I don't think his ownership is gonna be high at all. Honestly, he is one of the greatest. Wait, no, I'm lying. He did not pop on my models. He popped on a few stats, but he's one of those guys that can make it happen for you, or he can cost you a lot. I put him in the same category as JT or Justin Thomas and Kyle Stanley because with Ross Fisher, I don't see his ownership being that high. And if he was to just work just come show up to work like he's supposed to, he can help your lineup greatly. And then the other guy on my list is Jonathan Vegas. Honestly, honestly, the only reason why he made my lineup simply is because I cross-referenced his game at the Canadian Open, and I think it was something. Oh, and he had some distance on him too. He has some distance. I cross-referenced that with the Canadian Open. I think he'll do okay. It's strictly a GPP play, honestly. I think his ownership is going to be low. I think it's somebody you can pick where he's not going to be 10% owned. I think then again, I think he'll be either at 10% or less than 10% owned. I don't think he's going to be too high owned. One of the guys that a lot of people aren't going to really be talking about is John L. Smith, I think. I think it's John L. Smith. He's a Euro player. I don't know shit about him. Only thing I do know is when it comes to his distance, he has good distance. He has an overall good balance for accuracy, par 4 scoring, and birdie. I can't really call it on that because he usually plays in the Euro League, but just looking at his numbers, and I don't look at game logs, so don't think I'm talking about those numbers, but looking at his numbers and speaking with a few friends and getting their take on it, he can be an interesting play. I think he's going to be pretty low on. Well, he just won, I think. He's going to be low owned, but I don't think he's going to be over 10% owned. I say that because a lot of people don't know about him. He's a Euro player, and I think the focus on the Euro players are going to go to Peter Uihlein and Patrick Cantlay. I don't have Patrick Cantlay on my list simply because I don't think he's going to do good. He didn't meet my stat lines. He's just a fan favorite to me. And like I said before, I don't overlook my process, for personal biasness when it comes to like golfers. Like, I love Ricky Fowler, but he's not in my list. I like Ricky Fowler over Spates or whatever the fuck his name is, but he is not on my list. So I think Smith is an interesting play. I think his ownership is going to be pretty low. The Euro golf DFS players are going to pick him, but I think he's a good play. Reeve. I don't think he's gonna do too good at this course. And the reason why I say I don't think he's gonna do too good at this course, not because he's just not gonna be a good golfer or anything. I just think that his distance isn't where it needs to be to give himself a chance to hit these birdies or get these par 4 scoring. I think I put overall, honestly, if this was a smaller course or something like that, I put him in the same category as Kuchar. He is a lesser version of, not lesser version, that sounds so bad. Not a lesser version. His price point is so much less than what Kuchar's price point is. He can put out the same performance as Kuchar. Difference between him and Kuchar is he is a balanced player, like a golfer. Kuchar doesn't seek birdies. He doesn't get a ton of them. He get them. He's not a birdie. He's not a birdie maker all the time. He's more so of a par scoring golfer, and he has an all around good game. You can whatever you can, what you expect from Kuchar, you're gonna get. Now with Reeve, he's like, yeah, you can get it, but he's kind of up and down, and you got to understand his game, and you got to understand the course he's at. And this course, I don't think he's going to do too good. However, he did score high on certain stats, par 4 scoring, stuff like that. But the distance is the thing that worries me about him. And I just don't think he's going to be a great play. Now, I think a lot of people are going to either overlook him or going to be on him because they're going to pivot from Justin Thomas or Finau to get to him, and that's Lovemark. I think Lovemark is a very and listen to what I'm saying, very, very interesting play, strategy wise, ownership wise, and stat wise. Like he fits the bill for all my stats. Distance is okay. Par 4 scoring is good. Par 4 birdie making is good. Cross references from a few tournaments, he did good. I think the British Open. I think it was the British Open. Might have been the British Open. I don't know. But either way, he really popped in my models, and I honestly think he is a very interesting play. Like, very. But yeah, that's all I got so far. And my lineups are full of chalk. My picks are full of chalk. I cannot go with what I know. I know what I'm looking for. I know what I want the golfers to do. I can't go and look and try to find those same stats in somebody else and settle for less, because then I'm just chancing that I might miscut with the lesser golfer. That's what it's about. GPPs are about that, but I'm not going to take that chance because I believe that going chalk this weekend might not be a bad idea. So, but yeah, man, that's all I have for you guys. If you like what I did, like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out. Oh, and if you're in the Millie Maker, hey, I hope you guys do well. I plan on doing well. All right, I'm out.